Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and surprisingly, it's time for another video. So in this video, I am, continuing Birdtober, which is the daily challenge to create a bird every day in watercolor. And today I have 3 more birds for you. The first of which is the Northern Mockingbird, and already you probably saw that I lost a little bit of footage, but nothing too serious, just a little sketching and the background painting. You'll see more of those in the next 2 clips. But for this particular one, I wanted to continue my focus on the most common birds in my area in Central Florida. So the Northern Mockingbird is extremely common here. In fact, I took a picture earlier this week and didn't even notice that there were 2 of them in the background. So the mockingbird in general is our state bird here in Florida, and they're kind of massive jerks. Like, they are cute and they make beautiful little music. We don't have a lot of songbirds in my area, so these guys definitely stand out for that. In fact, with their mimicry ability, apparently they've been known or recognized as making over 400 different song types. So they're pretty impressive little songbirds, but they are also quite mean. And I don't know if my personal experiences are just because they happen to be nesting nearby, but I've seen these little birds take or go after like crows and hawks, or osprey, which are a type of hawk. They're much bigger than them and much more aggressive and could probably destroy these little birds, but they'll gang up and just go after them. I've definitely seen them chase off all kinds of different birds, even just birds hanging out on the fence. They're not very nice. So the Northern Mockingbird, common, makes pretty music, kind of a jerk. So not too much to say about these. I did try to get some more bird facts together, but I did 3 of these after working 10-hour days each during the work week, and then I'm tired, and now I've spent my evening painting and then editing and now recording voiceover, and the brain is not fully functioning. It's not really engaging. I'm doing the best I can. So yeah, once again, my palette is the Etchr miniature palette. The sketchbook is the Hahnemühle ZigZag at 2x2 inches. The paints are mostly Daniel Smith, and I'm obviously making use of a Sakura Jolie Roll white pen just to add some highlights back in, because it's really hard to control paint at this tiny scale. Otherwise, the brushes I'm using are Princeton brushes, the VelveTouch, and the Neptune. So that covers the supplies. I did talk about this more in the first part of this video, which is Birdtober days 1 through 3, but just thought I'd cover it real quick again. So the second painting for today is the Osprey, and Osprey, once again, very common because that's what I'm focusing on here, and I'm just going to keep stating the obvious. But one of the things that really amuse me about the Osprey is Osprey. I can't think anymore. But this is gonna be a strange voiceover. But the Osprey, I'm gonna keep saying it wrong or different each time, and you'll just have to bear with me. I'd apologize, but I get yelled at for doing that. So in any case, they're a very common bird and exist pretty much everywhere, primarily in coastal areas. They actually live on every continent except Antarctica, so they are pretty much everywhere that there's water, because they primarily feed on fish, or almost exclusively on fish, so they have to be near their food source. They are also the last bird around in their subfamily. I'm probably going to butcher this, but Pandionidae. So they're the lone survivors of that subfamily of birds, and their populations were extremely damaged back in the mid-1900s because of the use of DDT. The DDT poisoning resulted in very weak eggs for them, so they were very fragile and they would break, and so their population was greatly diminished. But with the ban of DDTs in the 1970s, their population came back, and they've been doing pretty well since then. And that may just be a North American thing. I'm not sure. I don't know if those were used everywhere. That was just us being awful to our environment. So some other random facts about these birds. They have a reversible four-toe, and they have spines on their feet, which make them really great hunters. They typically dive down into the water feet first and scoop up their prey, and then they hold the fish head forward. And I really wanted to capture that. I don't know why I use my during the work week paintings to focus on more difficult paintings. I mean, the Mockingbird was pretty much what I had been doing, a profile of a bird, but the next two had to have the wings open. But this is how I envision these birds, because that's how, I don't know, this amuses me a lot. Because oftentimes it doesn't, I know they're killing the fish and they're eating the fish. They gotta eat, circle of life. But at the same time, it looks like they're giving them like a scenic tour, like taking them on an adventure. They don't look damaged. They just kind of look like they're getting an aerial tour for the first time. And that brings me small amounts of amusement. I don't know. I'm easily amused. So Osprey are giving fish tours. So yeah, that particular pose helps with the aerodynamics and keeps them more agile. I'm not sure. They're pretty graceful birds. We do have a lot of them. They tend to nest on like light lampposts. We have this one intersection where there'll always be families of them, except for the rare occurrence of a caracara taking over the nest. But typically both the male and female will be present, and I believe it's the male that tends to sit on the line that holds the traffic signals and just glares down at cars while the mother's still in the nest taking care of the young. And we kind of get to see them grow up. Luckily I think most of them, they fly away from the road when they're learning to fly, so the babies seem to be doing okay, because that's my concern, seeing a nest so close to the road. But yeah, they keep going back there. They tend to nest in the same spot, or maybe it's a different family that's nesting every season. But yeah, we see these guys all the time at that particular intersection, and it makes me happy. So eventually I will switch over to the next bird, but in the meantime, I thought I would just talk about some other things. So while I've been painting these, I've been listening to an audiobook, an audible production of The Sandman, Act 1, and I read Sandman years ago, the whole graphic novel series, but I guess I'd forgotten more than I realized, and this audible production is really good. Like the voice actors behind it and the way they produced it, it's so good. I'm so glad they gave that out for free, because I was like, oh, I could just reread the comics. I don't know how this will work out, but they did such a good job with it. And I'm now really excited because I know they're making a show too, and I really want to see how they adapt it for all these different media. But yeah, I also forgot how dark that series was. Like, I think I knew, but didn't quite remember just how brutal it was. So that is my current thing I'm doing to keep my mind distracted as I'm working on these all the time. I'm not allowing myself to listen to it while I'm like doing chores. It's exclusive for making me more motivated to keep painting every night, is to go back to that. And I already got Act 2 because I'm almost done with Act 1. I think I have one chapter left. So yeah, that's keeping me motivated. I am somewhat tempted to take tomorrow night off. I only have 18 little squares in the sketchbook, so eventually I will run out of space and before the end of the month. But Fridays are tough because I still work a 10-hour day, and then we try to go grocery shopping, and then when I get home, I know I'm just going to want to watch the Great British Bake Off. And on Saturday, I already have a lot of things going on. Sunday's going to be busy, so I might actually give myself tomorrow off, and then I'll do the next 3 and try to get another video out. We'll see. Getting the video edited and together during the work week has been really tough. It might have to get put on hold. I might do more clips per video, or it might just start lagging. I'm not sure what I'll be doing with these going forward, but I wanted to try it, and here we are. So I should be wrapping this one up soon. I definitely struggled with this one, and I don't know if it was just because the pose was more complex than what I'd been working with before, or if the addition of the fish. I haven't really done many bird flying poses. This was just, it was a lot. So wow, I'm still going. Lesson learned. I probably spent more than the typical my goal of only an hour on this one, because it is still going on. Yeah, so otherwise I am reading Interview with a Vampire. I actually, oh, there's a cat under me. Hi, Maggie. You want to say hi? She does not. So I started reading Interview with a Vampire back in high school. I bought the book and I was reading it, and one day it just disappeared out of my backpack and I couldn't find it. I think it was taken. And I never finished reading it. I didn't really have money to go buy it again, and my school library didn't really have fiction. And I guess I really didn't have time to go to the regular library at that time. So I've always had a little bit of a grudge against that book for disappearing. And then someone actually gifted me a leather-bound copy because he upgraded his to like a signed version. And it's beautiful, like too beautiful to read. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll definitely read it, and then can't bring myself to touch it. So I keep it on display. So I finally got the digital copy from my library because my current library has it. And I'm finally starting to read that story. So that particular novel that has been shelved for, I don't want to admit how old I am, but yeah, it's been maybe 15 years since I started that and never finished it, and I don't not finish books. So this is really weird to me. But yeah, so I'm moving on to another bird now, which is an Anhinga, and I might be mispronouncing that. It comes from the, and once again, might be mispronouncing this, but the Tupi language, which I believe is Brazilian. Well, not like the language, not of Brazil, but like of a tribe in Brazil. So please excuse me if I totally butchered that, because I failed to do any research. But their language, I've seen it listed as both like implying that it's a devil bird or just something evil. And once again, probably should have done more research, but didn't get back to it. And here we are. It's getting kind of late and I have to go to work tomorrow. So I'm not going to stop recording now and go do research and come back to it like I should. We're just going to press on and embarrass myself. So in any case, these birds are also called snake birds. And while this particular, the way I painted it, and it was mostly because it fit more interestingly on the page, they have a very long and skinny neck, and they really do kind of resemble a snake for their top half. And I definitely struggled to paint this just because of the, working small and trying to see what I'm doing at that angle, and the beak just being really difficult for me. I probably didn't spend enough time figuring out the sketch here. But, excuse me, Maggie, if you want to talk, come talk on camera. She's out in the hallway now, crying. So yeah, I lost my place, but yeah, these birds are really interesting to me. We pretty much always see one if we go on a walk. I had never seen them before I moved to where I am now, not the house, the apartment before, and there was like always one at the apartment complex, but I would see the same bird species and think it was two different birds. So basically, they have this really fascinating ability to control their buoyancy. They actually have denser bones than most birds, or maybe all birds. I'm not really sure. They're a darter, so maybe all darter birds are like this. I'm not really sure. But they have dense bones and they can waterlog their feathers, so they're not like ducks where they make their feathers waterproof and that's how they float. So they'll sink. They just go right in the water and then they sink down. And I guess they swim, but they could be walking. I don't really know. I can't see what they're doing underwater. But in the process of doing this, they hunt like that. And when they need to come up for air, they just raise their head and neck above the water. So what we would see was a bird that we never saw surface, but it would just have like this snake-like head and neck above the water, and then it would go back down. And it would do it so smoothly, just straight up and down, and it looked like a periscope. So for the longest time, my husband and I referred to these as samba ducks, like submarine duck, because we didn't know what they were and we only saw it like that. But that wasn't really true. We just never saw it entering or leaving the water. We just saw it there and then completely outside. And I guess the body didn't match what we expected when it was outside of the water. So once they get out of the water, and I've still yet to see them go from outside the water in or in out, they sit on the shore and they fan their wings out and they dry off in the sun, because since they've waterlogged their feathers, they can't actually fly yet. So they kind of take on this pose with their feathers, their wings outstretched, and they don't always pull their head back, but in this different pose, they don't resemble what we saw sticking out of the water. And when it had this pose, my husband and I would joke that it was doing the bat signal, because it kind of looked like the bat. So we had our bat bird and our subma duck that turned out to be the exact same bird. We figured it out eventually and I felt pretty dumb. But yeah, so the ones with the lighter necks like this, I believe, are the females. You'll see ones as well that have the black neck and the black head, and those, I believe, are the males. I think the juveniles also have the lighter color neck and head. But yeah, these birds, I don't know why, they really amuse me. I find them quite fascinating, and they're the only birds like this in our area, so they stand out as being exceptionally unique. They're not the prettiest birds. They could be a little weird looking, and sometimes we see them like in a branchy tree kind of swaying. They're not the most graceful birds, especially when they're drying out, because they can't fly that well, so they just kind of somehow get up in the tree and then flop around awkwardly above your head, and they're a little intimidating in those moments, but they're pretty cool. So I like these birds quite a bit. And yeah, I guess that's really all I had to say. That's the extent of my bad bird facts for the week, or this video. Once again, I don't know when I'll be doing another video. I'd like to do them every 3 birds, but it really depends. I might need to take a day or 2 off just to do important life things. But yeah, at this point, I'm really struggling trying to get that face, fix the beak, and then get the head and beak really sticking out. Once again, should have spent more time planning this, but once again, I'm trying to do these quickly and had a lot of other things to do tonight. It was a really long day at work, so it's the best I got at this point in time. But otherwise, I really don't have too much else to say. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're enjoying these bird videos. If you absolutely hate them, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be doing so many bird videos. It's a big departure from what I have been doing recently, but I'm enjoying them, and I definitely plan to finish the sketchbook by the end of the month, even if I have to take some time off here and there just because other priorities. But yeah, in any case, I hope you're all doing really well, taking care of yourselves. If you are participating in Inktober or another monthly drawing challenge, be sure to take breaks if you need it. It's not important enough to sacrifice your sanity and mental health. But yeah, take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you in a future video. Bye.